My husband kicked me out pregnant because his mother falsified medical tests to make him think I cheated. But when he discovered the truth and came begging, I made a decision he never saw coming. I'm 27 years old. I work as a freelance graphic designer, and I swear I never thought I'd be telling this story. But here we are. About 6 months ago, I gave birth to my daughter, Sophia, and her father, my ex-husband Ryan, basically sleeps on my mom's couch 3 nights a week to help me with her. I know it sounds weird, and believe me, it is weird, but it's even weirder when I tell you how we got here. Because Ryan and I are divorced. We got divorced when I was 5 months pregnant. And the reason we got divorced is because his mother, Patricia, convinced Ryan that I had cheated on him and that the baby wasn't his. Which is totally insane because I never, and when I say never, I mean never, cheated on him. But anyway, I guess I should start from the beginning so this whole mess makes sense. Ryan and I met in college. We got married when we were 25, and everything was perfect at first. You know, that stage where everything is rosy and you think nothing bad can happen. We wanted to have kids relatively soon. Like, not immediately, but not wait until we were 30 either. So after a year of being married, we started trying. And that's when everything started. Because it turns out I wasn't getting pregnant. Months went by and nothing. And at first it was like, well, these things take time, no big deal. But after 6 months, 7, 8, it was starting to feel weird. Ryan started getting anxious. So did I. And his mom, Patricia, didn't help at all, because every time she saw us, she'd ask when we were going to give her a grandchild. As if it were as easy as going to the supermarket and buying one. Over a year and a half went by trying, and honestly, that puts horrible strain on a marriage. You start feeling like sex is a chore, an obligation, and you lose all the spontaneity and fun. Ryan got frustrated. I got frustrated. And on top of that, Patricia kept making her shitty comments like, well, maybe you should get tested, or maybe Emma should take better care of herself, or things like that basically implied it was my fault. My mom, Linda, on the other hand, tried to be positive and told me that these things happen when they're supposed to happen, not to stress so much because stress doesn't help. Linda is great. Honestly, she's one of those modern moms who was kind of a party girl in her youth and now is super relaxed about everything, and Patricia hated her for that, always looked at her like she was trash or something. So after like a year and a half, I got pregnant. Finally. I took 3 pregnancy tests because I couldn't believe it, and when I told Ryan, he started crying with happiness. Literally. I had never seen him cry like that. We called our families, we had a dinner to celebrate, everyone was super excited. Patricia even cried and hugged me and told me she was so happy to finally have a grandchild on the way. And I thought, well, maybe now she'll stop being so annoying with me. How naive I was. Seriously. The first few weeks after the anniversaries announcement, everything seemed normal. Ryan was super attentive, he'd bring me things, we'd talk about names, we started planning what the baby's room would look like. But like 3 weeks after we announced it, Ryan started getting weird. At first, it was small things, like he'd come home late without letting me know, or he'd be distracted when I talked to him, or he'd stare at his phone with a serious face. I thought maybe it was work stress. He's an accountant, and sometimes he has busy seasons, so I didn't think much of it. But then it got worse. He started being cold with me, distant, like he didn't want to touch me. When I tried to talk to him about the baby, he'd change the subject or say he was tired. One night, I tried to kiss him and he literally turned his face away. I just stood there thinking, what the hell is going on? Does he not find me attractive now that I'm pregnant? I tried to talk to him several times, but he always told me he was fine, that nothing was wrong, that he was just stressed. But I knew something was wrong. Very wrong. And then came that night. God, I'll never forget that night. It was a Friday. I was like 2.5 months pregnant. Ryan came home late from work, like 9 at night, and I was in the living room watching Netflix because we weren't even eating dinner together anymore by then. He came in, didn't even say hi to me, went straight to the bedroom and started pulling out a suitcase. I went after him like, what are you doing? And he wouldn't even look at me, just kept pulling my clothes out of the closet and putting them in the suitcase. I asked him what the hell was going on, and he turned around and told me, in a voice I'd never heard from him, all cold and full of hate, I know you cheated on me. I froze. Literally couldn't process what he'd just said. I told him what was he talking about. That I had never cheated on him. That he was crazy. And he pulled some papers out of his pocket and threw them in my face. They were results from a fertility study, a sperm analysis, or whatever it's called, I think. And it said that Ryan had an extremely low sperm count, so low that it was basically impossible for him to have children naturally. He told me. My uncle Marcus did this test on me 2 months ago, when we still didn't know you were pregnant, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't my problem. And it turns out I'm sterile, Emma. So that baby can't be mine. I was in total shock. I told him that was impossible, that there had to be a mistake, that the baby was his because I had never been with anyone else. I begged him to believe me, to listen to me, but he just yelled, "Don't lie to me, don't try to make me look like an idiot, I have the proof right here." I asked him who had done that test, and he said his uncle Marcus, Patricia's brother, who has a fertility clinic, and that's when it clicked, you know? His mom? This had to do with his mom somehow. I knew it. I felt it in my gut. I tried to reason with him. I told him let's go to another doctor, let him get another test done, that there had to be a mistake because the baby was his. But he didn't want to hear anything. He told me I had 1 hour to get my stuff out of the house, that he didn't want to see me again, that his lawyer would contact me about the divorce. 1 hour. Emma, he told me. And he left the room. I sat there on the bedroom floor, unable to move for like 10 minutes. I couldn't cry. I couldn't even breathe properly. I felt like my chest was going to explode. My whole world was falling apart, and I didn't even understand how it had happened. I finally reacted and called my mom. Linda got there in 20 minutes. Thank God she lived nearby, and she helped me pack. Ryan didn't even come out of his office while we were packing. My mom tried to talk to him, but he yelled at her to get out of his house, that I was a liar and a cheater. Linda hugged me and told me not to worry, that everything was going to be okay. But I knew nothing was ever going to be okay again. I moved in with my mom that night. The next day, I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce first. If Ryan thought I had cheated on him, if he didn't trust me after everything we'd been through together, then there was no marriage to save. My lawyer told me I should request a paternity test to prove the baby was Ryan's, but I told him no, that if Ryan wanted a paternity test, he could ask for it himself. But I wasn't going to beg him to believe his own child was his. The next few weeks were horrible. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't sleeping well. I cried all the time. My mom was super worried about me and about the baby. I had appointments with the doctor every week to make sure the baby was okay despite all the stress. Patricia tried to call me like 3 times, but I never answered. Why would I? I knew she had something to do with all this, even though I didn't know exactly what. Like, 3 weeks after I left the house, Ryan called me. I was in my mom's kitchen making tea, when I saw his name on the screen and I almost didn't answer. But something told me to. I answered and he was crying. Crying like a child. He told me, "Emma, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I made the biggest mistake of my life." And I stayed quiet because I didn't know what to say. He kept talking. He told me that he had discovered that his mom and his uncle Marcus had falsified the sperm analysis results, that Marcus had used the results from another patient, someone who actually was infertile, and had put Ryan's name on the document. He told me that he found out because he decided to get another test done at another clinic without telling anyone, because something didn't add up. And the results from the new clinic said he was perfectly fertile, that there was no problem at all. So he confronted his mom and Marcus, and Patricia eventually confessed everything. Ryan told me that she thought I wasn't good enough for him, that I came from a family with a bad reputation because of how my mom was in her youth, that I was only with him for his money. All that bullshit. So she convinced Marcus to falsify the results, so Ryan would think I had cheated on him and would divorce me. When Ryan was telling me all this, I could only think, this woman destroyed my marriage, almost destroyed my baby, all because she doesn't like me. All because she thinks I'm not good enough for her precious son. The rage I felt in that moment I can't even describe. I wanted to scream at Ryan. I wanted to ask him how he could believe his mom instead of believing me, his wife, the person who had been with him for years. Ryan told me to please forgive him, that he had cut contact with his mom and Marcus, that he was never going to forgive them for what they did, that he wanted us to get back together, to raise our baby together. And I told him, Ryan, you threw me out on the street pregnant. You accused me of cheating without even giving me the benefit of the doubt. You called me a liar. How am I supposed to get back with you after that? He begged me for like 20 minutes. He told me he'd do anything, that we'd go to therapy, that he'd spend the rest of his life making it up to me, And I just told him, no, Ryan, this is over. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me, who believes his toxic mom instead of his wife. The divorce continues, and when the baby is born, we can do a paternity test if you want, but the marriage is over. I hung up and started crying like I hadn't cried in weeks. My mom hugged me and told me I had done the right thing, that I deserved someone who trusted me no matter what. But it hurt. I mean, I still loved Ryan despite everything, and part of me wanted to believe him, wanted to forgive him. But another part, the rational part, knew that what he did was unforgivable. Ryan kept calling me for days. Messages, calls. He even showed up at my mom's house once, but Linda didn't let him in. I finally sent him a message telling him to stop contacting me, that anything he had to say should be through the lawyers. He replied that he understood, that he respected my decision, but that he would never stop regretting what he did. The divorce moved forward surprisingly fast. Ryan didn't fight anything. He signed everything they put in front of him. About 4 months after the initial drama, when I was almost 6 months pregnant, Ryan asked me if we could meet to talk about custody of the baby. I agreed because, even though we were getting divorced, he was still my daughter's father and had a right to be in her life if he wanted to. We met at a coffee shop near my mom's house. It was super awkward at first. Ryan looked terrible. He had lost weight and had dark circles under his eyes. He asked me how I was, how the baby was, and I told him, fine, that it was a girl. He smiled for the first time in months when I told him that. We talked about custody. We agreed that he would have regular visits after she was born, that he'd pay child support, all those practical things. And then Ryan told me that he needed to apologize to my mom. He said horrible things to her that day when I left the house, and he wanted to apologize in person. I told him I'd ask Linda, and to my surprise, she agreed. Ryan went to the house a few days later and apologized to my mom. Told her that he should never have judged her or said the things he said to her. That Linda had been more of a mother to me than Patricia had been to him. My mom cried and told him she forgave him, that she just wanted me to be happy. We also talked about Patricia and Marcus. Ryan confirmed to me that they would never, but never, have contact with our daughter. I completely agreed. I didn't want that woman near my baby after what she did. Ryan told me he was considering pressing charges against Marcus for falsifying medical documents, but he wasn't sure yet because he was his uncle, even if he was a piece of shit. The next few months were weird. Ryan and I talked from time to time about baby things, but we kept our distance. I was still angry at him, resentful. But I also saw that he was genuinely sorry. I don't know. It's complicated when you love someone but you're also furious with that person. You know what I mean? When delivery day came, I had told Ryan that I would let him know when I went into labor. It was a Tuesday night. I started having contractions and I called my mom first, then sent Ryan a message. He got to the hospital in like 15 minutes. I think he ran all the red lights because he lived on the other side of the city. Labor was long, like 12 hours. And Ryan was there the whole time. In the waiting room, not in the room with me, but he was there. When Sophia was finally born, the doctors put her on my chest, and I could only cry with happiness and relief. She was perfect. Absolutely perfect. She weighed 7 pounds, 1 ounce, had a ton of black hair, and when she opened her eyes for the first time, they were identical to Ryan's. I told the nurse to let the dad know he could come in. Ryan came into the room, and when he saw Sophia, he started crying. I asked him if he wanted to hold her, and he nodded without being able to speak. He held her so carefully, like she was going to break, and he told her, "Hi, princess. I'm your dad. I'm so sorry for everything." And there I was, watching the scene thinking, this is the man who threw me out on the street pregnant 6 months ago. But he's also my daughter's father, and he clearly loves her. After Sophia was born, things changed between Ryan and me. Not romantic, not at all, but more friendly. He came to my mom's house almost every day to see the baby. He helped me with diapers, with bottles, when I started giving her formula in addition to breastfeeding, with everything. One night, Sophia wouldn't stop crying and I was exhausted, and Ryan offered to stay on the couch to help me during the night. I agreed because honestly, I needed to sleep. And that's how this weird arrangement we have now started. Ryan stays on my mom's couch like 3 nights a week to help with Sophia. He's a good dad. I can't deny that. Patient, loving, attentive. And even though I'm still angry at him for what happened, for how he treated me. I also see that he's making a genuine effort to be a good father and to make up for all the damage he caused. My mom says that Ryan and I are eventually going to get back together, but I don't know. The trust that was broken that day when he accused me of cheating, I don't know if it can be repaired. Yes, I understand that he was manipulated, that his mom is a horrible witch who put ideas in his head, but he chose to believe her instead of believing me. That hurts, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to completely get over it. Last week, Sophia turned 6 months old. Ryan brought a cake and balloons to my mom's house and we celebrated, the three of us, plus Linda. Sophia smiled at Ryan. One of those big smiles that melts your heart. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and told me thank you for giving me the chance to be her dad despite everything. And all I could say was, she needs you, Ryan. You're her father. And that's all that matters now, I guess.